Yo, what's going on guys, it's Cynical and welcome back to another analysis video. It's been a hot minute since we last did one of these, but we're finally doing one for Kingdom Hearts 4, crazy. We're going to be taking an in-depth dive into the trailer that we received, taking apart all of the different things that were shown off throughout, so without further ado, let's dive straight into it. The trailer begins with the words, "The Lost Master Arc." This is telling us that we are beginning a brand new saga for Kingdom Hearts. The previous saga, that ended at Kingdom Hearts 3, was known as the Darkseeker saga, revolving around Xehanort. So for this arc, the Lost Master Arc, it will be revolving around the Foretellers, who are the Lost Masters. It seems to be that the naming of these arcs refer to who the antagonists will be for that said saga. So for this one, the Lost Masters, it means that it will be the Foretellers who will be the antagonists. This is further proven during the chess scene between young Ericus and Xehanort at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, where we see 7 black chess pieces that all represent the different Foretellers. I'd like to mention though that it's possible that the Foretellers might not actually be the true Foretellers, but rather the dark halves of themselves. In the very early days of Kingdom Hearts, there were 13 original darknesses, 7 of which were obviously intended by the Master of Master to possess himself as well as his disciples, the other Foretellers. So in similar fashion to what Xehanort did with Ventus, extracting his darkness out of him to become Vanitas, the same could be going on here. These could be 7 manifestations of darkness that have been infused into the Foretellers and have then been extracted. Either way, we're going to learn a hell of a lot more about the Foretellers in this upcoming arc, as well as the Master of Masters, a character that currently is still shrouded in so much mystery. And I think honestly, this is one of the most exciting aspects of this new saga. We still don't know the overall clear intentions of MOM, as well as what his identity is as well, so all of those things will likely be answered in this upcoming saga. I am very hyped for this. We get a few scenes of inside a building, and this building seems to be the Shibuya Hikari building. What I ended up doing was I used the billboard in the distance, the loser billboard I like to call it, as a point of reference, and then went into Quadratum myself in Kingdom Hearts 3, and yeah, lo and behold, it is the Shibuya Hikari building. We even see a scene of outside of the building that matches up perfectly. This is a little bit ironic too, because this is literally the building in Tokyo, Japan, that was used for the venue of the Kingdom Hearts 20th anniversary event to debut this trailer. On these pillars, and also throughout the trailer on various other different things, we'll notice the Scala and Kylum language positioned absolutely everywhere. Even on some of the billboards, this language exists on top of another language that seems a little bit different from the Scala language. I've kind of theorized that maybe this is the Lost Masters' influence, the Foretellers' influence on this world, seeing as they are here. As we know, Quadratum is almost like an afterworld, as explained by Strelitzia. Sora is basically dead at this point and has found himself in a completely different universe known as Unreality. Another idea though is the Scala language could have possibly have derived from Quadratum itself. We know the Master of Masters is pretty familiar with this world, and from the seams of things has been in this world for a long time, since about the end events of Kingdom Hearts Union Cross. I can't help but wonder if possibly the Master of Masters has some sort of influence on bringing the language that is here in Quadratum into the Kingdom Hearts universe reality, and from there forward was used in Scala and Kylum some way. Though at this point we know that the Master of Masters doesn't really have much to do with Scala and Kylum. It seems to be that Lushu is there from the trailer that we got to see for Kingdom Hearts Missing Link. Scala is also explained to be the nexus of all worlds, but whether or not that actually applies to Unreality, we're currently unsure. If it does though, possibly Scala could have some type of influence over Quadratum or vice versa. But yeah, this language is literally everywhere. It is on signs, it's on the car number plates, it's on billboards, it is everywhere, just as it was in Scarlet Kylum. During this scene, we do have commentary running from an unknown character at this point. No one is able to completely pinpoint who this character could be, but there is a lot of speculation going around. I, for one, possibly do believe that it is a foreteller, maybe Lushu, because it seems as if this character is actually talking to Sora. It seems like everything they're talking about is in regards to Sora. They speak the words, "If this isn't the end you desired, if it brings you despair, then leave this world for another. Your options are endless." That totally refers to that of Sora, in my opinion. The ending you desired, it sort of seems like the conclusion that ended up happening to Sora at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, with him abusing the power of waking and then being sent to the final world, and then mysteriously ending up in this brand new world. Don't exactly think that was what Sora intended on. There is this idea of it possibly being young Master Xehanort as well, which would totally make sense, as they are playing this new chess game that directly refers to what is going on in this brand new arc. So it could be running commentary of them playing the chess game while the game is literally taking place. But I can't help but feel like it is a foreteller, because it seems like, yeah, they're talking to Sora. That foreteller possibly being Lushu too, and the reason why we can't identify the voice acting is possibly because the foretellers may have ditched their current bodies at the end of KH3. So for like Lushu ditching Zigbar's body and jumping into an entirely new one, maybe a host that lives in Quadratum. These words are certainly ominous though. If this isn't the ending you desired, then leave this world for another. Your options are endless. Are they endless? And like, how many other worlds are out there? I would say the realm of Unreality consists of numerous different worlds, just like the realm of Kingdom Hearts, Reality with all of the different Disney worlds, and it is theorized at this point that we are looking at potentially Marvel and Star Wars properties, as well as numerous other Disney properties that are outside of Walt Disney Animation or Pixar. But are they simply speaking of just worlds or total new universes altogether? Are there a multitude of different universes? So there is Reality, Unreality, but are there other ones as well? It kind of seems like the possibilities are endless in this new Unreality, and I think that's the reference towards this person mentioning your options are endless. But it seems very ominous and quite dark. Off in the distance, we see some darkness manifesting, which later on turns out to be a Darkside Heartless, but a different variation of which. Yeah, this seems like a more darker, realistic take on the Darkside Heartless. While we don't for sure know if this is a Heartless through and through, it's certainly very reminiscent of the Darkside, with the hollowed out heart in the middle of the body. It leads me to believe that the Heartless are here in this world as well, and we'll likely end up seeing more realistic takes on the different Heartless designs, so it kind of gets me excited to see if that is the idea there, what the Shadow Heartless will look like, or what the Neo Shadow will look like. I'm looking forward to seeing the enemy design, because the whole total design of this Kingdom Hearts game is going to be entirely different to what we're usually used to. We then see some text saying, "The heart resides within the soul, which in turn is guided by fate to its rightful place." So this, I think, is another take on "May your heart be your guiding key." Is this though insinuating that Sora is in a place where he is absolutely 100% meant to be? We do know that when someone is sent to the final world, yeah, technically they are gone, they are dead. But they can still remain their physical form if they still do serve a purpose. In this case, Sora didn't completely vanish, he is still physically alive. This means that he has a purpose to serve, and by going to Quadratum, it seems like it's further pursuing that purpose. The rightful place is this Quadratum. The next few scenes show us a beautiful forest environment, really showing us how much of a visual improvement Square Enix has made towards Kingdom Hearts, and now that they can focus on a photorealistic type art style. Now, it is sort of theorized here that this is potentially Endor Star Wars. If we look at the planet Endor and look at its environment, it is a complete forest environment. There's a lot of foliage, a lot of trees. Particularly the trees, though, that stick out in Endor is the humongous redwood trees as well as ferns. These can be seen prominently throughout this forest environment in the trailer. Now, of course, this could just be any forest environment without a doubt, but I think a further point of evidence here is certainly this random piece of metal that is at the top right corner in this specific scene. Yeah, it doesn't look natural, and I'm pretty sure that is an ATST, an All-Terrain Scout Transport Walker. These are one of the ATs that are used in Endor. We then get a shot of the Scala et Kylum chessboard with one singular white chess piece, which is Sora's, with the crown on top. Yeah, this really encompasses the fact that Sora is now all by himself. Although we do have Strelitzia by our side, who will hopefully be a guide of sorts. Yeah, he's by himself. How long is he also going to be by himself for, too? Because we do know that Riku currently right now has made his way to Quadratum. In Kingdom Hearts 4, I wonder if at the end point Riku and Sora will meet up, or for like the entirety of KH4, it will literally just be Sora. This also gets me thinking about the party member setup as well. Will we have party members in this game? Maybe the party member system will work differently in the ways of similar to that of kind of like summons, or maybe like the Dream Eater setup that we had in Dream Drop Distance, where, you know, Sora's heart is connected to so many others. Possibly, in essence, he may be able to bring certain people through into Quadratum as like types of spirit versions of which. Strelitzia, though, is a Keyblade wielder. She is from the time era of Kingdom Hearts Key, so she knows how to swing the stick. On top of that too, if Sora and Yozora cross paths and Yozora is not trying to beat the shit out of Sora, then right there we have a brand new trio, Sora, Yozora, and Strelitzia. It looks like we are going to be missing Donald and Goofy in Kingdom Hearts 4 just in the way of party members, which is going to feel like a really, really weird thing. This is the iconic trio right here, Sora, Donald, and Goofy. And for the first time ever, it seems as if Sora will be teaming up with a new squad. Also interesting, with the sort of dark half of the crown on top of the chest piece, I understand this is probably lighting, but I don't know, I can't help but feel like symbolism of sorts. Will Sora have to tap into the darkness to actually use it to his benefit of such? There's gonna be a lot of differences going on in this Kingdom Hearts game and stuff that is happening out of character for Sora, and not only that, but I feel like the entire format of the game in itself, so it wouldn't surprise me if a concept like this happened. You see the words pop up, the choice is yours once more. I believe this is referring to Sora and is referring to how he kind of defied destiny and the events that were supposed to happen by using the power of waking to go back and save his friends. It sort of further encourages this fact that I feel like Sora has a certain amount of power over certain events that do end up playing out, and that whatever decision he makes really does impact the course of events, as Xehanort was kind of shocked that what ended up happening at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 was not written, it was not supposed to happen, but somehow Sora altered those course of events. We then get the reveal of Sora, and a very different looking Sora for sure, more of a realistic one, and even furthermore than the realistic, I guess, Sora that we saw within the secret episode for Kingdom Hearts 3. This looks like he literally belongs in the world of Quadratum. Now, as we know, at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3's secret ending, there are two outcomes. If you lose to Yozora, then Sora essentially becomes crystallized. And Yozora mentions that he will save him. If we defeat Yozora, then he mentions that his powers are not needed, and Sora is returned back to the final world. Now, people did do some data mining towards these endings within KH3's file, and apparently the good ending, which is the one where we defeat Yozora, is labeled as true ending. So at this point we are assuming that the good ending where Sora is returned to the final world is in fact the true canon ending. But there is a reason as to why there are two endings. I don't just think Square Enix included an alternate ending to losing for no given reason. I'm sure there will be an explanation towards why there is two endings in Kingdom Hearts 4. Two possible timelines going on, one where Yozora wins that encounter and another timeline where Sora wins that encounter. Yeah, quite possible. However, though, something clearly does happen to Sora after he is returned to the final world. And by the way too, in regards to Sora looking now completely different compared to his Quadratum version that we see in Kingdom Hearts 3. The Quadratum that we visited in Kingdom Hearts 3 to fight Yozora, I don't believe is the true real Quadratum in that sense. As we saw, the way that we entered that world, we were in some nighttime version of the final world, and then Sora's dive to heart appeared and was transformed into the 104 building. I think that that is some kind of infusion or cross-connection there between Sora and Yozora, and that the 104 building was almost acting as Yozora's dive to heart in a weird way. So in a weird way, I feel like Sora at that point was still connected to reality, hence the reason why he still remains to look like his Kingdom Hearts counterpart and not his Quadratum counterpart. But something certainly did happen once he defeated Yozora to then make it into Quadratum, and that will likely be the very beginnings of Kingdom Hearts 4. Sora is in an apartment, a very normal, real-life apartment. It seems like he gets a knock on the door and Strelitzia appears. She does mention that he has only been in this world for 7 days, which is a really confusing thing too, because the Sora that we're seeing right here looks like a significantly older Sora than the one in Kingdom Hearts 3. So how much real time has actually passed? I know it explains that it's only been 7 days since he arrived in this world, and of course it's 7 days, so he's only been here for a week. But if we think about the Realm of Darkness, time flows differently there. Aqua was trapped in the Realm of Darkness for a decade, a total of 10 years, but she didn't age whatsoever. This is because time flows differently in the Realm of Darkness. We don't know exactly how long, but 10 years in the real world is not equivalent to 10 years in the Realm of Darkness. So for Aqua, it's likely she was only really trapped there for about maybe a year or so, but in reality it actually been about 10 years. I believe a similar thing is going on here, where 7 days in Quadratum is equal to that of possibly a year in Reality, the Kingdom Hearts universe, as we do know that it had been about a year in the Limit Cut episode since Sora's disappearance. So a whole year of Sora aging could have taken place since he arrived in Quadratum, hence the different look of Sora, but also the fact that he looks just so totally different with the realism aspects going on. We can also see that Strelitzia also looks more real too. I mean, it's kind of hard to compare as we've never seen a 3D model of Strelitzia. This is, I believe, the whole effect of Quadratum being based on a real-life location, taking effect to the appearance of these characters. And Sora's outfit is slightly different. It still kind of resembles his outfit from Kingdom Hearts 3, but is more of a real-life outfit. It's interesting because this outfit we have seen before within the artwork that appears at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind, and was also used as the promotional artwork to promote the Super Groupies merchandise collaboration with Kingdom Hearts 3 around the time of its launch. Yeah, we've seen this for years. It's kind of crazy to think. It's not completely one-to-one, but I honestly do believe that Tetsuya Nomura used this as a base of reference for the outfits in Kingdom Hearts 4. So that would also lead us to believe that the outfits that we see the other characters here wearing, Axel, Kairi, Riku, and Roxas, are likely to be their Quadratum outfits as well. Does this mean that at some point not only does Riku make his way to Quadratum, but literally the whole gang? And in that sense, what does it mean for the Disney characters? Like, how will they look in Quadratum? So Strelitzia being here was a pretty big shock, in all honesty. We did talk to a soul of sorts in the final world, the Nameless Star, but we are pretty much 100% certain that that is, in fact, Yozora's friend, and not so much Strelitzia. As she does mention to Sora that she has someone that she knew that has been changed beyond recognition. That aligns up with Yozora's words on he does not meant to look the way he does. He doesn't look like that. So Strelitzia is here. Now, we also know that Strelitzia ended up dying in Kingdom Hearts Union Cross. Unfortunately, she was killed off by Ventus's darkness. So how long has this girl been in Quadratum? Because she seems to know what this place is, as it kind of looks like she is giving Sora a rundown on what this world is. This means that Strelitzia also has a purpose to serve. If she didn't completely vanish after she was killed off in Union Cross, she made her way to Quadratum just like Sora did because he's got a purpose to serve. I think it was, I guess, fate that these two would end up crossing paths to help one another in order to escape the world they found themselves in. Also, a cool detail about Strelitzia, her hairpin, she's got 3 of them in total, but one is in the formation of an X, because of course it is. You know what this means though? This gets me really high-key excited that we'll likely get more Marluxia interaction going on for the future of Kingdom Hearts. I'm really hoping that that means that he'll end up teaming up with us at some point. But deep down, he's always wanted to save his sister. His sister means a great deal to him. And when he was perishing at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 in his nobody form, it seems like he was starting to remember his true purpose. This would ideally mean that he is going to return back into his human form, so we should see him pop up at some point. Thanks to Audrey over on Twitter, she has managed to pinpoint the location of the apartment that appears in the trailer as to where it is actually located in Tokyo, because of course we know that Quadratum is based off of real-life Tokyo. It is located in Aoyama, I probably butchered that, but it's not too far away from the Shibuya crossing. We also know that Shinjuku will likely appear in Quadratum as well, as during the Kingdom Hearts 3 secret ending, we do see Riku near the Tokyo Metropolitan Building, which is located in Shinjuku. In the Kingdom Hearts 4 official press information, it explains that Quadratum is a large, expansive city. These could just be simple description words and might not mean anything in regards to this being a large, wide open gameplay space, meaning open world, but could possibly refer to that. How many areas of real-life Tokyo are going to exist in Quadratum? It seems like Sora is quite some distance away from Shibuya itself. We know that eventually we'll make our way to Shibuya, so do we have some kind of gameplay scenario of running down the highways or the city streets? And with a type of world map of sorts, being able to put pins down on certain locations. Of course, we do know that there are going to be worlds in this game. It's already been confirmed that a new world is currently in development, but just how many worlds? Maybe Kingdom Hearts 4 will be this idea of having minimal worlds, so it really wouldn't surprise me if Kingdom Hearts 4 consists of the least worlds we've had in a KH title. Generally, we have about 10 on average, but this game might only consist of, let's say, something like 4 to 5, but these worlds are absolutely massive. This was kind of the idea that I initially had for Kingdom Hearts 3, as worlds were looking so much bigger, but in essence, they weren't really open-ended worlds at all. They were still segmented like traditional Kingdom Hearts games. I do believe we might end up seeing a slightly different layout here in Kingdom Hearts 4 for the world layouts. It will be interesting to also see how Sora is going to travel to these different worlds in Unreality too. We don't have a gummy ship anymore. Is gummy travel even a thing in Unreality? Is it going to be some kind of similar setup to the diving from Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance? Who knows? We then cut to some scenes of in Shibuya. So the billboards right here are interesting, more of that Scala language going on, but on top of that too, the interesting one is D-Eta, so Dream Eater. There is this other kind of idea here where this could be a type of realm of sleep, and that some of what's going on like within the world is influenced through Sora and his experiences, bringing forth different physical aspects of his world into this world. But we've seen another Dream Eater thing pop up in a billboard within Quadratum as well, a little neon sign of Meow Wow. On top of that too, there's a building known as Traverse Coffee, so it could just simply be a setup of like a mirror dimension type thing where certain things from the Kingdom Hearts universe are mirrored here in Quadratum as well. We also see within that Kingdom Hearts 3 secret ending for Riku's side of Quadratum, that there's also a crown billboard too. So either there is some type of realm of sleep, universe bleeding into universe type thing derived from Riku and Sora going on, or it's plain and simple, there are different references to the Kingdom Hearts universe that exist within Unreality. The darkness swirling into the air then transforms and manifests into the Darkside Heartless. Yeah, again, this thing is absolutely scary looking, much scarier than its reality counterpart from the Kingdom Hearts universe. It looks a lot more demonic, and the size of which is even bigger as well. All of the civilians are absolutely panicking, so yeah, of course, they can see this. This is physically going on. We've even got like a pretty realistic take here of some of the civilians taking photos on their phone of this dang thing. This is a really real take on what would probably end up happening if a demon like this invaded the world as we know it. You know for a fact people would be like, I gotta get this onto my feed, man. We gotta share this shit. I found it interesting that when Sora is running towards this Darkside Heartless, and he puts his hand out to summon the Keyblade, it seems very delayed and almost looks as if he is kind of struggling to activate his powers. Now, there's always some sort of explanation towards a power reset when it comes to the beginning of a Kingdom Hearts game, because, I mean, for like the canon of the game, it wouldn't really make sense if whenever we get a new Kingdom Hearts game, Sora just doesn't know how to do anything anymore, and he is significantly less powerful than the version of himself at the end of that previous game. So for Kingdom Hearts 4, considering that this man literally kind of died, yeah, I would say that his powers here are probably sapped a little bit, even though we were able to pull them off fairly decently during the fight between him and Yozora. Something to do with being in Quadratum is probably having some kind of strain on his normal moveset. Also too, when we do look at the gameplay, I did notice that when Sora jumps towards the pole and kind of spins around it, he doesn't air step or anything, and that now Sora is using a grappling hook instead of air stepping. I was thinking about this because it doesn't really make too much sense to have both the grapple hook as well as air step, as they serve the same purpose to a degree. So I would say that the grapple hook mechanic is likely to be replacing air step in this game. But how cool is that grapple hook, man? It's using the keychain of the Keyblade, so Sora whips his Keyblade backwards and then the keychain extends. And I would say this will also be used for the traversal side of gameplay. If these worlds are a little bit more open-ended, then combined with the parkour on top of the grapple hook, this will serve for some really nice mobility towards, you know, scaling different buildings or getting up to different vertical heights. I will say though that the parkour that is going on here in this gameplay snippet of Sora sort of jumping towards the pole, spinning around, then he kind of wall runs on the highway there and then jumps off of a highway ledge. That to me doesn't really seem like true gameplay. This is probably demonstration to a degree. I don't think it's going to look like that with the camera doing all of these weird angles. I think this is primarily for the purpose of serving towards concept of gameplay for the trailer itself. And you'll notice when Sora swings around that pole, there is like no flow motion effect, particle effect type thing going on. That would usually happen if Sora were to perform the same move within like Kingdom Hearts 3 or Dream Drop Distance. So is flow motion even working here in Quadratum? It looks like it isn't, unless they're just at a point where they haven't developed the flow motion particles. I say that because in this other scene where we see Sora running up the building, there is like a quick animation of Sora stabbing the Keyblade into the side of the building to kind of stick into it, I guess, to gain some footing on the window to then be able to run up it. There's a cool little like blue particle effect that appears there. If they really wanted to, they could have put some blue particle effects in here to, you know, display flow motion, but they just simply didn't. So it makes me think, no more flow motion. Don't think that's going to be a thing here. And you'll also notice as Sora is running up this building, that darkness consume effect that the Darkside summons across like all the cars and stuff to pick them up, that's slowly creeping up the wall as we run up the building. Super cool. Looking at the heads-up display, it is very reminiscent of the one that we have in Kingdom Hearts 3, though of course this is definitely far from being finalized, so the final version could look very different to what we're seeing right here. The command menu is got like these sparkles going on, which is kind of nice over the selected option that you're currently hovering over. One thing that has been made apparent though is that final option on the command menu reads build. As we know, that final option in Kingdom Hearts 3 is Link, the summoning mechanic of the game. The idea I was talking about, that if party members are going to be potential summons, then there would not be a need or use for a summon option in the command menu. Of course, it's totally possible that Sora just can flat out not summon anymore, calling forth the powers of other characters. I mean, he's literally in another world after all. So build is quite interesting. We're getting a Fortnite spin on this. Are we going to be able to build up and do some crazy tower strats? Who knows? But we do see a very interesting looking drill attack. Quite impressive looking too, that the Keyblade kind of turns into a drill. This definitely is in similar fashion to something like Keyblade transformations, but obviously appears to be different. The Keyblade itself isn't transforming, but more so seems like it's constructing something. So build could be referring to this ability of not so much changing the Keyblade's shape, but building different constructs towards things to use against enemies. I think that's very similar to what we see Yozora doing in his fight. For one, like, he literally sends Gigases raining down on us, so that's constructing of some sorts. Also, just like his moves in general, the particle effects and stuff that kind of splurt out in that Verum Rex ad are like all little mini cubes and stuff. I mean, yeah, I'm about to make a Minecraft, a Kingdom Hearts reference here, but is that insinuating build in some type of degree? Yozora's whole thing is stealing powers. As we saw in that fight, he stole the power of the Keyblade. So what if Sora kind of learns a similar thing where he absorbs the powers of the different bosses that he faces in Kingdom Hearts 4, and those become the different things you can construct and build, like the drill. I do not believe that the heads-up display is functional whatsoever. I think it's just there to be there. But likely, you know, the build thing will obviously use a resource of some kind, and if the command menu was actually functional, we likely would have seen a shortcut menu pop up to activate this attack, or there would have been a situation command pop up or something. Yeah, it's not functional whatsoever. I also want to look at the heads-up display for like the gauges too. So MP and the health bar, obviously there. That health bar is a big health bar, and I do not know if that's telling us that this is later on in the game. Like, obviously, Quadratum is going to be probably the first world we get to explore for Kingdom Hearts 4, but the health bar is just so big. I don't think that it is representative of being later on in the game. Just remembering back to that first Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer, Sora did have a pretty big health bar. Twilight Town is certainly one of the first worlds you go to, and your health bar is not that big by that point in the game. The gauge, though, that we have there, the focus gauge, is more in line with the positioning of a drive gauge from Kingdom Hearts 2. So I do feel as if, like I was mentioning, air step is going to be taken out. Does that also mean that, like, shot lock is no longer? It is known as EX, but I will say that we've seen an EX bar appear in a Kingdom Hearts trailer before, that very first Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer. I think that's just placeholder for, yes, this is going to be a resource gauge of some sorts, because there's always a third gauge to, you know, utilize a different ability of sorts. Now, this whole combat scenario is incredibly flashy. It's very cinematic. We see like a situation of Sora grapple hooking to a pole, then over to a floating car. There is one moment there where Sora is literally sliding and running through an entire building that has been dismantled and chucked into the air. It looks simply incredible. Now, will this actually be a scenario that is in the game? I've got no idea. Could this all just be for the purpose of the trailer, to show a proof of concept towards gameplay? We know it's in engine, so that's already been confirmed. That's great to see. It's not pre-rendered like that very first Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer. But it's sometimes hard to depict exactly how some of these flashy scenes are going to work when it comes to the finalized gameplay version. Because a lot of the time Square Enix do like to include these very cinematic in-engine gameplay segments, but they don't turn out to be in the final version. It's just for the purpose of the trailer. But what this screams to me is, like, specifically when looking towards when Sora's sort of running through that broken building in mid-air, is like reaction commands. I know a lot of people ended up missing these in Kingdom Hearts 3, and they sort of came back in Remind a little bit. I think there were like a couple of times where we got some reaction commands. So could we possibly be seeing reaction commands return for KH4? Because what reaction commands enable is these really cool, flashy, cinematic moves mid-gameplay. I kind of do miss them, but the set pieces that we saw in Remind were absolutely incredible, and I think a level beyond the different sets that we had for those combat scenarios in the base game of Kingdom Hearts 3. So I think that's shining through a little bit more here in Kingdom Hearts 4. I think there are going to be some seriously cinematic, very impressive combat encounters and situations in this game, especially now that Square Enix have so much more experience with Unreal Engine. And for those of you who missed it, yeah, Kingdom Hearts 4 is going to be an Unreal Engine 5 game, but everything that's going on in this trailer right here is Unreal Engine 4. We then see a cutscene that cuts from the fight between the Darkside and Sora, scaling up to the top of the building with two mysterious figures wearing the black coat, likely to be the Lost Masters, two of them. I am maybe assuming that it is the Master of Masters, the dude with his hands behind his back. This seems to be a stance that the Master of Masters likes to pull off, and another one to his left. The commentator comes back in again. I don't know if it is these characters talking specifically, but possible that it could be. Mentioning if you do leave this world behind, don't expect to return to the one from which you came. Again, connecting on to what was kind of being talked about at the very beginning of the trailer, like if this is not what you desired, leave this world for another. The options are endless. Yeah, leaving behind this world, being that of Quadratum, I'm assuming the person is talking about, don't expect to return to your original world. Yeah, ominous, cryptic, and also, like, do the foretellers right here have some kind of control over what is actually going on in the city with the darkness taking over, with the dark side appearing? Does that then have something to do with the black box? I'm assuming that they brought that through with them to Quadratum, or was that used to transport them? So many questions. Does the box in itself contain darkness that was then unleashed into this world? Master of Masters' whole thing is to eradicate darkness, but might have a slightly different way of doing so. I have to say, it's really cool being back in that position where we just don't know the identities of these antagonists. While we can all assume that yes, they are the foretellers, we don't know what the foretellers look like at all, aside from Lushu looking like Sigbar, but is he going to body jump once again? It's cool because it reminds me of Kingdom Hearts 2 and the Organization 13. There was a certain amount of mystery surrounding these characters as they would always wear their hoods up on their coats. And it was exciting to get that reveal of one of the members dropping the hood to see exactly who we're dealing with. Question is though, while I think we will get the identities of all of the foretellers in Kingdom Hearts 4, I still believe that the true identity of the Master of Masters will remain a mystery. Who knows though, we might get one final scene, maybe during the secret ending of Kingdom Hearts 4, where he takes off his hood in similar fashion to what we got at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 with the Sigbar reveal. To wrap up the trailer, we then get one final scene of Donald and Goofy. This was really funny to see because it reminded me, oh wait a minute, we haven't seen any Disney in this trailer at all. Here's our little slice of Disney. So we will be getting the scoop on what Donald and Goofy are getting up to throughout the events of Kingdom Hearts 4. How that's going to work, I'm not too sure. I suppose it would work similar to Kingdom Hearts 3, how it would like cut between Sora and Riku to show us the events of like what Riku and Mickey are getting up to. So probably similar to that. It seems as if they are in Olympus, maybe in the underworld. They're clearly looking for someone, and it ends with a blue flame that has got to 100% be Hades. If this is the underworld, then it would make me think that they are specifically looking for Hades, or maybe even Auron. Hades is kind of ironic though, and to me personally it makes the most sense because Sora is dead, right? And Hades is the god of the underworld, the god of the dead. That just makes too much perfect sense. Maybe get some clues towards how you can bring someone back. What we do know is though, Donald and Goofy's current goal is to find the other trios and fill them in about Sora's whereabouts. Now that could have already happened and they have a different goal in mind for Kingdom Hearts 4. maybe they literally are wrangling up the different Disney villains in order to help assist them to bring Sora back. What a weird concept. But the models of both Donald and Goofy look so much better compared to what we saw in Kingdom Hearts 3, so this really gives us a good idea as to the visual progress that Square Enix have made with Unreal Engine. Looking at Donald's clothes in this scene right here, the lighting looks all on point, the detailing, especially within the belt on his hat, looks absolutely immaculate. Kingdom Hearts 4 really is some eye candy. Finally, we get magic in the making. This is replacing that infamous, now in development end card. Yeah, that became sort of a meme, so I'm happy that Square Enix ended up changing this to Magic in the Making. Let's hope that Magic in the Making does not become a meme. There is absolutely no way that Kingdom Hearts 4 is going to take as long as Kingdom Hearts 3. I think we're looking at late 2023, if not 2024. But however, guys, that is my in-depth trailer analysis for Kingdom Hearts 4. There was so much to unpack in this, and I just cannot wait to get into that whole cycle of leading up to trailers and seeing like the next slice and what else is going to be in this game. It looks pretty damn ambitious. Be sure to leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. However, guys, I'm Cynical, hopefully having a fantastic one, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.